Jennifer, you're running the show? Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 7th, 2020 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. And before we say the pledge, I would like to just make sure everyone understands why we're not requiring masks in this meeting in certain instances. And I'll just read a statement. We've done a lot of research on this and come up with a conclusion that I will read. The Delaware County Commissioners, in consultation with our staff attorney and in alignment with the Ohio Director of Health Stay Safe Ohio order, have determined that we and our staff must wear facial coverings while entering and exiting this hearing room. We can then remove those coverings in order to conduct our business. This will enable us to create and broadcast a comprehensible record of those proceedings. Any participant who comes to the speaker's lectern can also remove a facial covering while speaking at the lectern. Staff must wear facial coverings while in the hearing room, but not presenting. Guests at our sessions are not required to wear facial coverings in our building, but are encouraged to do so and can be provided with facial coverings at our front reception desk. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. So if now we could rise and join me in the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my right is our fellow Commissioner Vice President Gary Merrill, and to his right is our Administrator Mike Fromer. To my left is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis, and Jennifer Walraven is our clerk today, and we can begin.
Resolution number 20-392, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held April 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-392. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-393, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0506 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 0506.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-393. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-394, in the matter of acknowledging receipt of annexation petition from agent for the petitioner Michael R. Shade, attorney at law, requesting annexation of 2.385 acres of land in Liberty Township to the city of Delaware.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-394. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-395, in the matter of proclaiming May 2020 as Mental Health Month.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. We do have a guest speaker today. Welcome, Deanna.
Hi there. Most of you know
Welcome.
me. I'm Deanna Brandt from the Mental Health Board, and I want to thank you for considering this resolution. I think obviously May has been declared Mental Health Month nationally for years. I mean, we know 1 in 5 people struggle from mental illness, but in light of this pandemic, we expect and we know that a far greater population is going to need mental health support. Post-pandemic, we're preparing for that. I think these services are going to be much more important to the general population and the regular public than maybe they have been perceived to be in the past. I think our provider group, we are 10 providers this year and about 50 other smaller community partnerships that we have between both counties. So the work that we do, I think, is going to be even more important to all of you in this room and all of you that you go home to than before, and we're just asking you to recognize May in Delaware County as Mental Health Month. Thank you.
Okay,
You have questions
thank you.
for me?
I want to say
Comments,
thank you
questions?
for all that you and your organization does for our county and Morrow County.
Yeah, yeah.
Any updates
Oh,
share with us? Yeah.
So look, I will say this, the short version of that, Commissioner Lewis, is that our system was required with a 3-day turnaround time to shift all services that were possible to be delivered electronically to telehealth. That required equipment, emergency rulings from the feds regarding the platforms that they could use to ensure that if there were HIPAA issues, that they could account for those. So we had 10 agents, actually 9, shift entirely to telehealth between March 13th and March 17th. And that went fairly well. We have some services that don't lend themselves to that transition. Crisis, injections, certain kinds of peer support still had to be provided face-to-face. And so the providers had to, like we do, adjust to a new normal with PPE and precautions and what have you. We've seen a pretty steady flow of client demand for services. That has continued. Our school-based services, believe it or not, transition the most efficiently. Oh, really? They have hundreds of appointments with kids that they identified right away and continue those services. And for me, that was pretty important. Severely mentally ill adults, people struggling with addiction, and kids. Yes. And that worked out pretty well. We expect a significant surge in demand, and the surge for us will be from a non-traditional population for us. So typically it is that 1 in 5 or their family members that we work with. And now there'll be the rule of thirds. Anytime you have a really negative event in a community, a third of the community, just the general community, will struggle in the short term and need help. Just support, not treatment, diagnosis, assessment, just support. And we're structuring a fair amount of dollars around being available for that. So we're getting ready.
Oh, gosh.
Does that cover it?
Boy,
Oh, that's
no,
good.
thank you.
Very, very helpful.
Thank
20
you, thank you
minutes,
so
but-
much for all you're doing and your board, too.
Yeah.
It's
So what I expect, so I will say from a planning standpoint, we would have liked there to be more telemedicine before this pandemic. So I think what's going to happen is we'll probably have some version of a hybrid model going forward where providers have been able to see that telehealth, as long as they can get reimbursed for it. So Medicaid issued an emergency rule waiver that allows certain providers to get reimbursed who had not been able to before. If that continues, yes, we'll see a hybrid model where the pendulum will swing back, but not back to where it used to be, where the onus was always on the client to show up at the office for services. I expect that to swing back, but not to where it used to be. At least that's my goal. So.
yes, yeah, boy.
Yeah, it has been interesting to see medicine in general, healthcare in general, react and accelerate some changes that were happening. And some of those were going to be permanent, some of them will go back.
And physical health care got there, Christopher Benton, before we did, right? To, you could call your doctor and be on your smartphone and they got there ahead of us. I mean, we did have some telemedicine, in particular when you're working with inmates, that was necessary sometimes, and some other limited stuff. But this has really been a pilot for services that have not historically been seen as telehealth useful. And now that they're saying they can make it work in most situations. There will always be exceptions, severely mentally ill adults, crisis, some other limited stuff. But for the most part, it can be done. So,
Okay.
Boy, thank you so much for coming in, too.
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
Thank you. We do have a resolution, and normally we would take a picture, but we
Yeah.
can't
I'll
do that
pass.
today. Yeah. I will give you the resolution, though, and thank you also for leadership in this very important area. It'll be really
Yes.
interesting to see how things shake out in the coming months, but I know you've been out in front of it and planning and preparing, and hats off. So very, very timely resolution.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deanna.
I don't think did we make a motion?
We need to vote.
Yep.
Vote on motion 20-395. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Hi,
All right. Thank you, Diana.
thank you.
Okay.
Resolution number 20-396, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations and a fund transfer for Job and Family Services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Anderson with Job and Family Services. The first portion of the resolution is a supplemental appropriation in an amount of about $27,600. These are additional funds that we receive through Area 7, which is our workforce board, for updates and technical updates in the resource room, our OMJ center. And we'll utilize that to purchase some furniture, newer computers, and other things to service the people that are coming to the resource room. And the transfers are our quarterly transfers where we are repaying our funds. We spend most of the funding out of our public assistance fund and then reimburse on a quarterly basis from our other funds.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-396, Mr. Benton.
Aye.
Mr. Merrill.
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis.
Aye.
Resolution number 20-397. In the matter of accepting sanitary sewer improvements for North Farm, Section 9.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Commissioners. Tiffany Mag, Director of Environmental Services. So these sewers have been installed and have met all of our requirements of the sewer district. This is the section of North Farms that's on the east side of North Road, near the railroad tracks, and there's 24 lots in this section.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-397. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-398, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreements for North Lake Preserve, Section 3.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
This is a standard subdividers agreement. It's located off of Four Winds Drive near I-71, and there's 31 lots in this section.
Okay, vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-398. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-399, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer improvement plans for Horsepower Farms.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So this development's located at the southwest corner of Home and Stites, and this actually includes 7 buildings. There's going to be 2 buildings in the first phase, and what it is it's actually storage for collector cars and motorcycles
okay.
and different things like that. We're being told that they'll have the ability to convert these into a man cave of some sort, is how they described it. And they're going to have an ownership like a condo. So they said only in Delaware County would you have something like this.
I saw the name and I wondered.
Right, what
it
this was.
Horsepower, now it makes sense. It's-
Right, yeah.
It's collector cars. I'm sure it'll be a neat facility.
Is this in Harlem Township?
That would be Liberty, I
think
think.
that's-
Or is it
Okay.
Concord?
Stites, that's either Liberty or.
Right on the border. Yeah, I know they've, right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Horsepower Farms.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a great
interesting.
name.
Yeah.
Okay, vote, please.
Vote on motion 20-399. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-400, in the matter of approving a contract with Rumpke Waste Incorporated for Delaware County Solid Waste Transfer Station operation, hauling, and disposal of services.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
So this is for operation of our existing transfer station. Our current contract with COC expires May 31st. So this will be for Rumpke, who was the highest-ranked firm on our recent RFP that we had out for our design, build, finance, operate project. We're still in negotiations on that project, so this is a separate contract for them to operate the existing station. Our revenues will be similar. We're going to charge $3.50 per ton of trash that goes through. Previously, we got 7% of the revenue, which was $3.50 per ton. So that's kind of how we went about that, so that we could then move it forward with our future contract for the design, build, finance, operate, instead of using a percent of the revenue, using a dollar amount per ton. So we'll keep you apprised of what's going on with that negotiation, but as of right now, it's still in the attorney's hands back and forth.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is one more step in this transition of this facility to a bigger and better facility and handle more waste and handle it better, so it's good
Yep.
to see.
Yeah, we're excited.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-400. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Next up, we have Director Lamb with our Economic Development Business Assistance Update. But I'm not sure where
Where's
Director
Bob?
Lamb is.
Where's Bob?
Yep, here he comes.
There he is.
All right. right. Well,
There he
welcome,
is.
Rob.
My apologies. Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director for Delaware County, here today to provide a update on the advisory team that was put together by the county commissioners to address COVID-19 issues. One of the items I do want to update you on is we did a review of the surveys that were put together by engaging approximately 10% of our key industry sector businesses in the county, about 100 survey response rate for that item. Overwhelmingly, what we found was significant impacts to our business community because of COVID-19, including closures pushing almost 50% in some cases in some industry sectors for businesses, layoffs of approximately, or temporary furloughs of approximately 40% of that, half of those possibly being permanent layoffs within the community, so a significant impact to the workforce, as well as serious concerns over loan structures. Currently, about 54% of the businesses that engage said they were currently out with current loans that about half of which had been deferred because of COVID-19, and so they were looking at how did that affect their bottom line and available capital over the coming months. They also responded with about 1/3 of the businesses that we engaged did not have concerns about reopening once the stay-at-home orders were lifted. However, 25% did have serious concerns about their ability to reopen. So about 1 in 4 of our businesses, along with about 20% of the overall workforce possibly being permanently laid off based upon the steps undertaken. I think this is underscored when you look at the Jobs Ohio updated information. We are currently at 9%, just over 9% unemployment within Delaware County. In December of 2019, we were at 2.8% unemployment in the county. So we've seen almost an increase of 3 times, just over 3 times within just 4 to 5 months. And I would iterate that this is data based upon the April numbers before the extension of the stay-at-home was issued. So we are now reformatting that survey, updating it, and we'll be distributing it out again. Our expectation is to see that serious concern number that's currently at 1 in 4 businesses most likely increase. We're expecting it to be more in the 1/3 category, possibly higher, and seeing that 1/3 group who thought they could open with no problem being reduced to 25 or 20%. Given the changes within the timing of the governor's order. So wanted to make you aware of those findings. We have been working very hard at the advisory team, trying to find different ways to support the local business community. We'll be launching this week with the video campaign to support local businesses. I think we're up to about 25 or 30 videos at this point that have been taken with local businesses where they're just highlighting what they do, that they're still open, and encouraging people to come and frequent their business, whether it's a takeout restaurant or some type of retail operation. Also, we have professional services, everything from medical to real estate agents. So just doing what we can to support the business community. Also secured about 300 spots on local radio. So those will also be made available to the business community. That's a partnership with Destination Delaware. So we're very excited to have them in support of these endeavors, working with us very closely. They've done a lot of good work in moving this forward, and we just appreciate how well everybody has been working together over the last few months to help address these issues with the business community. The advisory team has also looked at different development issues that can be improved. Tiffany Magg's been leading those efforts, and we think there's some good programs that could be coming out of that endeavor. We are working on a new update to go out to NAIOP and other professional, development professional organizations, highlighting the extension of the property tax, just letting them know that that has occurred so that they can let their clients or those in lease agreements with their locations know what is going on. And then the main item that really wanted to touch on today is why Don Ranke is here. He is chair for the revolving loan fund team as part of the advisory team, and he wanted to provide you all with an update regarding where we're at in that process. Don's been incredibly instrumental in helping put this together. I appreciate all the help and support he's been providing throughout this process. I think we have a better proposal for you to hear about today because of the hard work he's put into it.
Yep. Bob, before we turn it over to Don, could you I want to applaud you and your team for all the work you've done and working with the businesses and the community at large. My understanding is Polaris is going to reopen on a limited basis next week. And what about Tanger? Have you heard anything about what Tanger's status is?
With the May 12th retail opening order, Tanger does plan to open up in compliance with the governor's direction. They will be focused on, Tanger as an entity will be focused on the exterior areas, the parking lot, the walkways, and those things, and making sure that the governor's directives are adhered to in those locations. Each store, though, is responsible within their location for having proper sanitary equipment available, masks available, those types of things for their employees and for customers.
Okay, well, good. To
As
start.
As I alluded to last week in my comments, this is an opportunity for the residents of the county to support these local businesses who have been shut down. And those businesses who've been open have been, I won't say benefited, but have been put in a better position. And here, we need to now support these businesses as they reopen because they're going to need help.
Absolutely. The number one concern that we heard from the business communities during the surveys was the available liquidity, cash on hand to deal with upcoming issues and phase through closures. Many of them said, their number one concern was making payroll and then making rent, and many of them have had to cut payroll in order just to keep able to pay other costs.
And just so I'm not misunderstood, Polaris and Tanger, but all the other small businesses in the county as well, not just
Absolutely.
those two areas. And it's important if we can do a lot of good right now by supporting those businesses.
Very important point.
And a good point too, on the business survey, the average number of employees for a business that responded was 28. So it was a lot of our small business community that responded to that survey.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned Kroger starting out. What did you say, Kroger?
I don't believe I mentioned,
I thought you said something about the layoffs, furloughs, or,
furloughs and layoffs.
Yeah.
Of our business community, about 40% did some type of furlough or layoff. Of that, about 50%, so half of who were laid off, have been done so in a manner in which it could be permanent.
okay, okay.
So about, of those laid off or furloughed through this process, half were done in a manner where the company expects to bring them back.
Okay.
Another half were done in a manner where the company just is not sure if they will be able to bring them
Okay.
back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Turn it over to Mr. Ranky for an update on the loan program, I presume.
Wanted to start off,
You could just, we're recording this, if you could just identify yourself for the record.
I'm Don Ranky. Wanted to start off, I think a lot of you know that Home Life owns and operates retirement communities around the country, and our residents have come up with a greeting when they're sitting inside and trying to talk through windows and stuff to their loved ones. And so I wanted to start off with that greeting to you that they've come up with. Good morning. I'd like to wish all of you here, our wishes of safety and healthy to you and your families in this time. So thank you for the opportunity to discuss the revolving loan committee's progress. The revolving loan committee currently consists of Administrator Fromer, Director Lamb, Orange Township Trustee Chair Ryan Rivers, Liberty Township Trustee Chair Shira Eichhorn, and myself. It's the intent to expand that committee from 5 to 7 upon ongoing potential contributions to the revolving loan fund. I want to reminisce for just a second. 4 years ago, right now, there came an opening on the Delaware County Finance Authority Board, and the commissioners at the time expanded that board from 5 to 7. And I had a discussion with Commissioner Merrill at the time and decided to apply for one of those positions. and I'd like to thank you all for that opportunity. Immediately after the appointment, I got a call from Mr. Lamb, and he asked if we could meet for lunch. At lunch, he wanted to discuss his goals, and he asked me what I thought our goals should be for the Delaware County Finance Authority. Both of our number one goal at the time was to work together to establish a revolving loan fund to create opportunities for new businesses, expansion of existing businesses, and most importantly, the creation of additional good-paying jobs, for the county. The Finance Authority appointment was in the last 4 years, serving on the Finance Board, has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had, and most successful experiences over my 40 years of civic and community affairs. Yet, there was a single goal for Bob and two goals for me that weren't realized over that 4 years. Now, here we are today, unfortunately, not to build on the many, many tremendous successes this commission, together with the Economic Development Department and the Finance Authority, have sustained and seen. It's just incredible what those three groups have been able to do together. But we're here today to hopefully create a real working revolving loan fund to provide hope, to strongly state to our businesses, the backbone of our Delaware County economy, that we are here to provide loans at reduced interest rates to help them restart their small businesses, to provide them with the help of up to 4 months of paying their rent or mortgage, so that they, our small businesses, can focus on rehiring their employees and focusing on rebuilding their inventories to give them a fighting chance to recover from this shutdown of our economy. So at this point, knowing that time is of the essence, we are requesting the conditional commitment from the commissioners and the county office holders to fund the small revolving loan with the initial approximate amount of $2.5 million, contingent upon the successful application to the Ohio Jobs organization for them to match contributions. I've had great conversations with both the chairs of Orange Township and Liberty Township, and also the new finance director for Liberty Township, and real good, strong conversations in regards to their funding partners. I had Shira asked me to express to you the following. This will be crucial in expediting the economic recovery in the county. She wants you to know that on her next agenda, there will be a vote on them contributing $250,000 to the revolving loan account. She went on to say that the next meeting is May 18th, but she is happy to call a special meeting tomorrow or Monday so that we can have that commitment for the Jobs Ohio application that we plan to put in next Thursday, within the next week. We are, Bob and I and Mike, are meeting, have meetings planned over the next couple of days to meet with two potential funding partners, which are looking at approximately another $1 million in funding. And I think we're very hopeful that we can get that $1 million in funding. The goal is to have $3.5 million in commitments, firm commitments, when we apply next week to Jobs Ohio requesting those matching funds. You know, Bob has been working on the application to Jobs Ohio, and Representative Rick Carfagna has been very helpful and instrumental. He's actually worked with us over several days to make sure that the application is a good, firm application. We have also secured many commitments for strong letters of support, including Representative Rick Carfagna, U.S. Congressman Troy Balderson, former Congressman and Business Roundtable CEO Pat Tiberi, Representative Chris Jordan, who will work, he will work directly with Speaker Householder for additional support, and our County Chair, Steve Kuckler. I am respectively requesting the Commissioners contingently authorize $2.5 million to fund the Small Business Revolving Loan Fund contingent upon the successful application to Jobs Ohio for a matching grant. I'd like to thank you all sincerely for your continued leadership, especially in these times, so thank you for that. Do
Okay.
you have any questions?
You put a lot of, pardon me, a lot of work into this.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
It's a team effort. It's a good team.
Yeah, yes, yeah, thank you.
Surely is. I mean, I'd like to thank you as well, you and Bob and, gosh, the whole, Ryan Rivers and Shira, Acorn and T-Berry and Balderson, and I'm sure I'm going to forget some people, and I apologize, but that's a great team. You know, I think it is emblematic of the leadership and the talent that we have here in Delaware County that want to get this county going again. And so I think it's great, and it takes a lot of persistence to put these things together. There's a lot of different directions this could go, and a lot of possibilities and risks and so on that have been addressed, and I think appropriately addressed. So again, I applaud everyone for working on this and coming to this position where we have a workable, viable idea on the table.
And I believe because of all of those people that you just mentioned, we will have a very, very strong application to Jobs Ohio to match. And, you know, we're looking at asking them for a $3.5 million match. And because of that strong support and also the application that Bob's putting together, I mean, not only the letters of support, but also, more importantly, you know, where we stand status-wise. He gave you a report earlier that he's put in writing that we're going to make as an attachment to that ask. So I think it's going to be a really good ask, but we've got to get the first, you know, domino to fall, and that's, and time is of the essence, and that's the reason why, you know, I'm here to respectfully ask for you all to jump on board.
Do we need to pass a resolution or just?
I think we need to
Yeah.
see
Yeah, I think
we need to
we'll-
see the document and its details. So I think I'd be willing to say, based on what that document says and the detail that we need to see before we could vote, and then be in position to vote next Thursday if, and once we see the information. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that is, because then we would be able to Thursday afternoon send the application off to Jobs Ohio.
Yeah, again, I had a number of concerns about a program like this. Being a banker, I understand the complexity with many painful moments in my career. I understand the complexity of lending money to businesses, and I had a number of risks that I was concerned about, and I think all of them have been addressed to our satisfaction. We can't expose the county to undue risk or any of those jurisdictions that are participating, which is to be commended. I mean, Orange Township, Liberty Township, I think City of Delaware is on board, City of Powell's on board. You know, it's just phenomenal that they're willing to step up.
It is phenomenal. I got to tell you that this is probably the proudest point for me since I moved to Delaware County in 1985. I'm just so proud of what you all are doing and everybody that stepped up, and obviously I really appreciate, I think the last 4 years of being able to work with Bob and Mike have helped tremendously in getting us to where we are today. And I thank you for that opportunity again. And I think we have addressed all the concerns. You know, And I think we've got a good proposal. I mean, we put out to bid the banking proposal, and we got back a real good proposal, and Bob and I have been able to negotiate to that, to where we think that the three of you would be satisfied with those arrangements. So, thank you.
Yeah, again, I can't say thank you enough for your leadership on this.
Well-
Bob, Mike, and Rick Carfagna, and
Yes.
Jobs Ohio. I mean, there's so many people that have gotten us to this point where we have a really good solution in front of us that we can really help our businesses and help Delaware County.
Yeah, just like to add there was a lot of questions as we got into this process. I know Commissioner Benton had questions, I'm sure Commissioner Lewis did, and of course, I did. And I think based on what I've seen and heard, I think it's something that should excite our county, our residents, and it's a way we can support this business community in a time that's going to be extremely difficult as they transition. And it says a lot about our county and our willingness to try to get our businesses back on their feet as much as we can, as quickly as we can, and is a template that perhaps other counties may try to follow. And but it's not just us, it's all these other entities in addition to the county. And yet we're trying to protect the county's interest and the taxpayers' interest to make sure that they're protected. And from what little I know right now and more I'm going to learn, I believe that we've accomplished that.
Yes.
And former Congressman Pat Tiberi said exactly what you just did, Commissioner O'Merrill. He said, what you're doing here today will set the example for the other 87 counties in Ohio and across the country. Unbelievable what could possibly come together. So I'm worried about Delaware County, but I'm glad that we could be maybe
Might be able to help create a
Game
model
plan
that
for-
other counties can use as well. Lending is a very complex activity, very complex business with incredible risks, all kinds of risks. And again, I think this proposal now has addressed all of those risks. I've always believed in the mission, but I didn't want to expose the county to undue risk. And so being able to figure out a way to mitigate those risks and still accomplish what we're after has been remarkable. So congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
For working on it. I agree with Commissioner Merrill. I think we just need to, look into some of the details, and I'm fully prepared to move forward, based on what I've heard so far, move forward next Thursday and get this thing going. As you said, time is of the essence, no doubt
Right.
about it.
We don't want to delay it past next Thursday because people need help. And I applaud the creativity and the dedication and the teamwork. And
It's a great
Thank
team.
you. Thank you, Don.
Including you all, so thank you. And we'll see you next Thursday, and hopefully we'll be able to get the application to Job Ohio in for that match, Thursday afternoon. So, thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming
Thank you,
in.
Don. All right. Let's see, do we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Okay, we can add one more. Come on in, Sean. Thank you, Don.
Just say something. I asked Sean to come in today to give us an update. I had talked with him earlier this week and on emergency management, and I wanted everybody to hear what I heard. And then I heard something even better yesterday as I was talking to Carla Herron from the Board of Elections. So take it away,
Yeah,
Sean.
you've been a busy guy.
He sure
Morning,
has.
Commissioners. Sean Miller, Director, Delaware County Office of Homeland Security Emergency Management. I have to say, if it weren't for social distancing, going into a room and having half of the occupants come out before you go in to speak, you might think your message was going to be a little boring, but that's all right.
I hadn't thought of it that way, yeah.
So I just want to provide an update, as Commissioner Lewis said. And I'm going to break down my update in a couple of different areas that we've been concentrating in over the past month and a half now. And the first area I'd like to talk about is the Delaware County Emergency Operations Center, or EOC. And you may recall back in February, We had worked through together a project that we were going to implement to update the Emergency Operations Center. Well, suffice to say, that has come to a screeching halt, but perhaps at some point we'll be able to revisit that. Much of our Operations Center activities have been virtual, and so that's a little bit different for us. It was activated on 16 March of this year in consultation with the Health District, so we've been active since then. During that time, approximately 40 incident status reports have been sent out, along with other information, and that other information has pertained to state orders, personal protective equipment or PPE, and other relevant information for our partners. Our team has been primarily comprised of EMA staff as well as the Health District. They have assigned 4 liaisons to our Emergency Operations Center, and those liaisons take on different sectors, if you will. So one is specifically dedicated to business, one is dedicated to private nonprofits, one is dedicated to entities which serve functional and access needs populations, and so on and so forth. And that has worked very well for us because that enables us to maintain a very good picture of what's going on in the county. So that process has worked out very well for us. We have daily video calls with the team, and we bring in additional partners as appropriate. So today, our call will have United Way and Family Promise, and these calls enable us to identify engaged needs in the county and to match those needs with the most appropriate resources available. So that's the Emergency Operations Center. I'd like to move on to logistics. We've received numerous donations from individuals, organizations, and shipments from Ohio Emergency Management. As of yesterday, Emergency Management has filled 165 orders for individual types of PPE. Thus, if an organization received gloves and masks, that would be counted as 2 orders, just so we can track it a little bit better. I'd like to recognize Sandy, Scott, and Cody with our office for the Herculean efforts they have undertaken in establishing and running this logistics operation, because it is so far outside of their day-to-day responsibilities. And they have sorted the PPE by type, size, model, and it has been terrific. And they've been tracking everything coming in and going out as well. With that, we are working currently to distribute over 2,000 face shields to health care providers, long-term care providers, and assisted living centers. So we're in a position to distribute those. I believe we have 8 pickups scheduled for today from those facilities that are coming to pick those up. And we have scheduled those pickups in 15-minute intervals so that we don't have a bunch of individuals coming at any given time, and we're doing that to promote social distancing. To Commissioner Lewis's point, well, before I get on to that, I did have one more point under logistics. We're working currently with the Health District to establish a PPE request prioritization matrix. And what I mean by that is now that reopening is occurring, at least in part, our requests have been increasing in number as well as who is requesting PPE. And so the top priority for PPE distribution is for public safety, healthcare providers, long-term care providers, assisted living facilities, and the idea being that we want to get the PPE to those that have active COVID-19 cases, because that is where the risk is at its highest. However, we're getting some mid-tier prioritization requests and lower-tier prioritization requests, so we want to make sure that our process is methodical, justifiable, and defensible. And so we're working to establish that matrix with Ohio guidance as well as federal guidance, and we're still working through that as that guidance is becoming available. Now, on to Commissioner Lewis's point about Board of Elections. Early in this incident, as you recall, the Board of Elections was undertaking a lot of effort to ensure that the primary in March would continue under very unusual circumstances. And so about a day or two before, Board of Elections reached out and indicated that their poll workers were starting to drop out because of concerns with COVID-19. And Delaware County worked collaboratively to put the call out regarding a need for more poll workers. And this was certainly a joint effort. I know Jane and Marissa promoted this need both internally and externally, which was terrific. Additionally, Sandy requested assistance in spreading the word from a volunteer group that is always chomping at the bit to assist in disasters, and that is Delaware County Amateur Radio. And their enthusiasm to assist is contagious, no pun intended. And they are always willing to help with exercises and real-world events. And certainly, this event has not entailed communications disruptions, thankfully, so their normal operation is to provide communication assistance. However, in this case, they spread the word about the need for poll workers. And I bring this up because Carla shared with me last week when I spoke to her that her sister lives in Union County, and she had a scanner on just before the primary, and she heard a call go out for Delaware County poll workers over the scanner. So it was a multi-channel approach to requesting poll workers. It was a joint approach to requesting poll workers. And after that call went out through all those various channels I mentioned, Board of Elections referenced that they had an influx of calls for people wanting to assist with that. So Carla indicated that they would have been able to carry out the primary had it not been postponed. So I wanted to share that success story because I believe it demonstrates what teamwork can do. Additionally, we'll continue to look to the November election, and our Emergency Management Association received a briefing from the Secretary of State's office, and we'll continue that collaboration for planning with both Board of Elections and the Secretary of State's office as we look to November for that. Along the lines of planning, emergency management continues to support reopening efforts. We've supported the internal planning efforts for Delaware County offices through Brian Gallagher, and are additionally supporting external planning efforts. As an example, today I'll have a conference call with the Health District and United Way, because at some point over the spring or summer, they'll have their annual Supplies for Scholars drive, and they want to make sure that that's done in a safe manner. So this is just an early planning call for that initiative. Additionally, we look to identify potential issues, long-term planning before they arise, as well as potential solutions before they are needed. So we've looked at some planning considerations with the coroner's office and Grady Memorial Hospital, our nonprofit partners, just kind of spanning the gamut with that. And then the last point or area that I want to hit on is recovery. We've continuously disseminated public assistance information to partners as we've received it from Ohio Emergency Management. And for the Board of Commissioners office, Karen First has been involved in that process as well. Additionally, Delaware County EMS has submitted for the initial application for public assistance. And we're still kind of working through the details on what that public assistance program will look like, but we're getting the word out as we get new information from the state. And of course, Bob Lamb was just in the room. Economic Development, we've been working very closely with them, and I appreciate all of Bob's efforts as well as his staff and Sean Hughes. Emergency Management has participated in a couple of conference calls with them and area business leaders, and we will continue to share pertinent information with them to share with businesses as it becomes available. And so those are sort of the highlights. I don't want to take up too much of your time today, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
I know when I was talking with Carla yesterday, she said they had 300 poll workers quit. It was like 3 days before the election. And of course, the election at that point was moving forward. And because of working with you, Sean, and through all the different means of communication, you had those slots filled, and they were ready to go, literally ready to go. And
well, they had taken this equipment out to the polling locations and were expecting to vote the next day.
I mean, this is really phenomenal that you know.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. It was a team effort, number one. Number two, when we had our briefing with the Secretary of State's office through our Emergency Management Association. Toward the beginning of their briefing, they said, all right, is anyone from Delaware County in the room? And, I raised my hand, and they indicated that Delaware County Board of Elections is extremely proactive in their planning efforts. And that goes back to the leadership there with Carla and Anthony. And then they also have a planner, Sam Kindred.
Oh, yes.
Who is very proactive. So we're very...
Sam was a general,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
so
yeah,
we
very,
just,
very-
yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Very
He
solid.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we've had numerous conversations with Sam, and he is a terrific guy. And so Delaware County is known at the Secretary of State's office for being very proactive.
Oh, that's
I think it's the
great.
best Board of Elections in the state. I may be a little prejudiced, but I think we do an outstanding job. And the relationship between the commissioners and the Board of Elections is really unique. There's a lot of counties that they don't have that, let's say,
Oh,
working
really?
relationship.
Okay.
I'm told.
Uh-huh. And you also have a conference call today with Family Promise. They had contacted me and about FEMA, a FEMA grant, and wanted some more information on it. And so what was, you have a call today that you put
Yes,
together?
that's correct. And so we'll be having our daily call with our EOC team, and we'll be adding either Barb or Brandon from United Way, as well as Family Promise, to look at some of those different funding options that are available. There's another funding stream through FEMA, separate from public assistance, that is going to United Way. So Brandon is tracking that.
Good.
And then from what I understand, there's also some HUD funding that may become available. So we just have to kind of look at these different funding mechanisms and see what their relationship is with each other, and then try to line those up as appropriately as we can for our partners, including Family Promise.
Oh, that's great. Boy, I sure appreciate your coming in
Yeah, yeah. Give it
and all you do. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
And to the team, too.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you as well. And your emails that you and Brian Gallagher send out every day, I read them. I really do. I'm sure a lot of people do. We really appreciate the daily updates, very concise, the information we're after. So, I really, really appreciate that. And again, thank you for your calm, steady, proactive leadership. The whole team, I know, participates in that and does that, and all your partners. It's just been very good.
I appreciate that, sir, and sometimes I feel like I might be spamming inboxes when, those emails go out, so I really appreciate that
Yeah,
feedback.
no, it's really good. And you're on the various calls and giving us, the health district, you're on that every week and providing good information there. So, thank you to you and your team and all your partners.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That brings us to item number 12, resolution number 20-401, in the matter of approving a transfer of funds.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, County Administrator. This is basically transferring the casino revenue that we got for the first quarter into the capital fund to pay for the historic courthouse renovation. This quarter was $5,000 less than Q1 in 2019, even though the casinos were closed probably almost a week to 2 weeks there with COVID-19. So.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 20-401. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Item number 13 is Administrator Fromer as well.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer again. Just want to echo one thing that Deanna Brandt said earlier. I think that this pandemic has caused new forms of treatment and mental health. And, one of the things I think that our safety services departments really struggle with is when they are called out to scenes to help with mental health issues. And I think that this is definitely something that would be nice to be a permanent thing. It could really help a lot of our departments to do that. Her and I were talking about that yesterday, and I think that's going to be something great. Also, just to follow up, with Bob and Don Ranke were talking about, there's been a lot of great work. Task force group, Bob and Don have been kind of leading the tip of the spear. I think Bob's knowledge as an economic development director and Don's successful small business experience have done a great job of navigating coming up with a proposal there. Also, Bob's group with Kelsey this week, we did another Zoom call with I think 10 manufacturing business leaders in the community, and those are fantastic. I was a little skeptical when we first started those that it would be number one, how the business owners would want to connect with each other in an open forum, and also it seemed a little impersonal on Zoom, but they've been fantastic, and everyone has gone over an hour that we've done, and people really, it's been a great program. I think they're very appreciative of what the county can do, or has been doing, and they've been networking with each other and sharing a lot of stuff. As far as the county this week, we are, I guess, open to business. We are open to business through appointment. We tracked last week, all week, how we were going to be preparing for this week to open up. I think traditionally what you've seen this week is people that have been teleworking or on paid leave are starting to come back in the office, not 5 days in the week, but maybe a day or two, and continuing to telework. So you're starting to see, like in the lobby here, lights are on, whereas the last 50 days they were off, and so it's that gradual. And I think people are doing it in a very responsible manner. I've been around this week to some of the different buildings and departments, and we're not bringing people in to congregate together. We're doing it for a business need to serve the public. So I think it's been pretty successful. Sean talked a lot about the collaboration. We're working, through the processes, and I think, with the elected officials, things have been working, very well. I don't know if you have any questions for me about that process or what we've...
Well, I know that you and Don have been working on the reopening plan, and thank you. I mean, that's been, my gosh, putting together a whole plan and then taking into account what the federal government is saying, and then the state government, and all of the office holders, meeting with them, and so you've done a great job. It's certainly going very, very smoothly.
I think next would be nice to start getting some of the financial information. I know the state officials have mentioned getting that to us, but it'd be nice to get some of the sales tax and stuff so we can start looking at that a little bit more. But
Yeah, have a little more refined approach to our financial planning. Yeah, it's great to see the departments and offices continue to refresh and update their plans and communicate them to Jane so she can put them on the website.
That's right, Jane, and
Communication is so important.
Yes.
Everyone's done a really nice job of doing that, so
Yeah.
that's very good.
Yeah, being connected through Jane has just been huge for our residents and for anyone looking to do business in the county.
We can keep things going, and
Yeah.
as rules, as the things get relaxed and we can reopen more and more, we will continue to do that.
yeah, and I'm extremely excited about the small business program that Don and Bob were talking about. I think the timing, Bob articulated it. We were getting 25% response about being concerned to be reopened. That was that was before the governor's order to extend it to May 29th. So I'm sure that number, like he mentioned, is going to be increased on our next updated survey. So I think that the timing of this program and what some of the terms we're talking about can be extremely helpful.
Great.
Other comments, Mike? Comments or questions for Mike?
No, I'm good.
Okay, well, we'll turn it over to, I think it's your turn, Commissioner Lewis.
No, just working on some EMA issues and as they arise, but it's great. Sean always steps in, and Sandy, and trying to think what else. Yeah, working with the health district through Sean, and yeah.
Okay, good.
That's it.
Mayor?
I authored something early morning this morning, and I'm debating whether to share it or not, and I've decided to share it. I got up about 2 o'clock this morning, and I typically would prefer to write something, lay it aside, but since we only meet once a week, I think it's probably appropriate that I go ahead and read it today. So it is somewhat lengthy, so bear with me. I am scared, but I remain hopeful and optimistic as we begin the process of restarting our economy here in Delaware County and the state of Ohio. We have begun that process in Ohio, and hopefully we will be able to pick up the pace as we move forward. We're being peppered with statistics reminding us of those who have died from the virus, and it is tragic and unnecessary if China had been more honest in how they handled the virus initially. But who is counting the other lives that have been lost, affected by how we have handled this virus? I suggest the losses are much greater for the disruption that has been created by those using the virus and the mantra, "Don't let a crisis go to waste," which I'm sure all of you have heard bragged about by certain individuals for their own agenda. What losses, you ask? Medically, those who have been denied elective surgery, those who have not been diagnosed with health issues from cancer, heart issues, the need for joint replacements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Does anyone think these issues stopped out of deference to the virus? Are these lives any less important? This all because modelers told us how many lives would be lost if we did not act quickly. What was forgotten? That the modeling was no better than the assumptions that were made to determine the potential loss of life. Assumptions that proved inaccurate, thus the results of the modeling were inaccurate. To use a phrase we all are familiar with, garbage in, garbage out. But fear and trust in the experts created momentum for what has proven to be a dangerous overreach. Because of our compassion as a county for those most at risk, we as a country, for those most at risk, we as Americans have chosen to trust those experts. But beyond medical is the impact it has had on our economy. Small businesses, wage earners have been and are being destroyed by the direction we are traveling as it has affected their ability to provide for their families. These people are the heart and the soul of our country. The result has and will be devastating. Depression, suicides, loss of hope are affecting millions of Americans. And where is that calculation, that model? Those calculations don't exist. But the one thing that does exist, the hypocrites who reign supreme. Examples. The mayor of Chicago who despite her own order is caught getting a haircut, and when caught says, as mayor, it is essential that she got a haircut because she represents Chicago and her personal hygiene is important. Drones being used to watch if you are following rules, proper distancing. What is scary is too many of us are not concerned. It is okay for the Krogers, the Walmarts, the Costcos, the Giant Eagles to sell non-food items, but your local small business can't open because they don't sell essentials. The governor of New York's brother, who contracted the virus and promoted the fact he was in quarantine in his basement, but was caught breaking his quarantine outside his home and was upset because he got caught. But having no shame, he still promoted the day he came out of quarantine. The mayor of New York City promoting the need for its citizens to quarantine, but he is caught across town at a gym working out, as well as walking miles from his home in a park with his wife. But they did have their mask on. The same mayor creating a phone line so you can turn in tattle on those who don't think or follow the quarantine rules. The governor of Michigan who says you can't travel to your second home in your own state. The New York governor putting those back into nursing homes with the virus. The result, 25% of deaths in New York are those who live in nursing homes. I could go on and on with examples of protest outlawed because of the need for social distancing. And the censoring that Facebook, who refuses to show a calendar of those events so people can protest and be made aware of it, and Google as well. These are hypocrites. They believe, don't let a crisis go to waste, and more importantly, they believe the rules apply to you, not to me, referring to those individuals. Enough. It is time we reopen this economy, and these hypocrites are called out for what they are: selfish, inconsiderate, dangerous to the freedoms that are now at risk because of incompetent leaders. And yesterday, a salon owner, Shelley Luther, in Dallas, who reopens her business, is put in jail for 7 days and a $7,000 fine because her business is being crushed and she felt the need to reopen to provide for her family. Enough is enough. In closing, many, many years ago, a book I read is getting closer and closer to reality. That book, 1984 by George Orwell, may be a roadmap to where we are headed if we don't say enough is enough. Thank you.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I've had numerous conversations with numerous folks who are involved in this, and I just keep saying the same thing. We need to get the economy going. We need to get it moving. It's causing devastation, as you very articulately presented, causing enormous personal devastation and losses, life, businesses, personal assets, et cetera. So yeah, we definitely need to make sure that we keep pushing to get the economy restarted as soon as possible. So very well put. I just had a couple other things to mention. Let's see, Health District had their call yesterday, and again, we have 7 cases, 7 hospitalizations in Delaware County, about 40 active cases. You know, most people, 75%, 80%, have recovered, who contracted coronavirus. And, the economy of 215,000 people is shut down. So very serious that we get this economy going again. The Treasurer of State participated on a call earlier this week with the Treasurer of State and his team, and they're very interested in working with the counties, other jurisdictions, to try to get funds available through various means to the local counties and their businesses. And it was very encouraging that he's working on some initiatives. We're going to continue those discussions. But they have a revolving loan fund, they have a linked deposit program, they have the Star Ohio Deposit Program, which we use extensively, and it's a great program. So they're very interested in working with the counties in other ways to help the businesses and the local economies get going again. We had our regional planning call last Thursday. I think all 3 commissioners were on that.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, and it went very well.
Except at my house. I'll tell it myself. It's kind of funny. I didn't hook it up, the cord. I would rely on the battery, and I was surprised how much it takes to run Zoom. And literally about halfway through it, it said battery's low, so I get the cord out, and I get it plugged in, and I plugged in where I have our shredder plugged in. And then it goes dead. What I failed to remember was we used the switch to turn the shredder on and off. So I was getting, so I had to scramble around for about 5 minutes to get it back running. So I missed about 5 minutes in the middle. So, but a little humor is important. Yeah. And despite my good intentions, I did miss a portion of the meeting. So.
And again, it went well. And this is one of those things that it's 35, 40 people together, is meetings the way to go for things like that? It was a lot of... It did go well. I thought the presentations were well handled by the individuals in the audience as well.
Yeah.
And, there was a big agenda. There was a lot on the agenda. and I think we got accomplished what needed to be accomplished to keep things moving in the development world. So congratulations to Scott and Stephanie and everybody on the regional planning group that pulled that off. And I think, again, one of those things, we'll learn from that. SEBCO, we had our board meeting last Friday. Really not a whole lot of new news. I'll bring you up to date later, Dawn, on some of the specifics, but not a whole lot of big stuff. What was interesting is SEBCO has a significant investment portfolio, like most insurance companies, and their portfolio was very conservatively structured, and so they had less than 20% in stocks and over 80% in bonds. Well, they didn't get hit very hard. Now, you can argue, debate, over the long haul, you're better off to have more in stocks, but during a downturn, a crisis like this, being conservatively positioned helped them, just as an example.
But there was a vote Friday, wasn't there, regarding the,
The MOU did get voted on.
Yep.
And approved, really pretty straightforward.
What was the voted on?
The MOU between SEBCO, Corsa, and
okay.
CCAO that
Oh,
that
all right.
lays out the
Oh.
framework that the three will work together.
and they hadn't voted because they were delayed because of the, I think, the virus earlier, and the vote had got delayed.
okay.
And Corsa had voted earlier, and
Okay. Oh, good.
that did get approved, which I expected it to. Regional planning, the state, we've got Morpsey Executive Committee this afternoon. Some interesting things going on there. One other thing I wanted to mention about the state, Bob Lamb touched on it briefly, and that is the state announced their sales tax and income tax figures yesterday. Their income tax is down 50% in the month of April. Now, a large part of that is because, although we won't know exactly for a while, but a large part of that was because they postponed the filing and payment deadline from April 15th for the annual returns to July 15th. So that made the shortfall bigger, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
But
Okay.
50% reduction in state income
Okay.
tax, 24% reduction in state sales tax. Through various conversations with CCAO, I've mentioned it to the state auditor, I mentioned it actually to the governor directly. They have been pressuring the Department of Taxation to get us our county level sales tax information for March sooner than June, and hopefully they'll do that. And same with April, hopefully we'll get that. So we can develop better financial models and then develop better plans to deal with the drop in revenue that we will have.
For the purpose of people listening, the reason that's important is we get paid for March in June.
Right.
And we'll get paid for April in July, so it's always 90 days behind. So we really don't know how bad we're going to be hit until we see those numbers. And Commissioner
Right.
Benton has been an advocate of
Yes. Thank you for that.
continue to ask that question, because I've been in a number of conference calls where he's asked that question. But to this point, we've not gotten any relief.
Yeah, I was talking to the CCAO staff, John Honick, and he said, yeah, they've been listening to you, they're hearing you. The taxation department finally committed to getting us the information sooner, so.
If we don't hurry, it'll be June, and we'll matter.
Yeah, I know, if they drag their feet. But again, I've said it several times, I mean, can you imagine if you were a business in March and not know what your revenue is going to be until June in the middle of a crisis like this? I mean, how could you survive, manage that? And so anyway, I think they've finally begun to grasp that.
And once we get those numbers, we're going to have to start making some serious
Oh, yeah.
evaluations,
Right.
because we'll know the impact, and
And the state has already said they've made $750 million in cuts over the rest of this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. They've trickled some of the details down to the school districts. Our school districts are being hit very hard with significant reductions in the state funding. And they have a complex formula, but our districts are being hit much harder than most, even though we get less than most. Again, the school
hard to
funding.
understand that, but.
Yeah, I know, that is.
It's frustrating, to say the least. And, again, the state doesn't know, and I understand that. They know what April's sales tax and income tax were, but they aren't going to know what's May going to be. I mean, again, really, they don't know. So there'll be significant cuts in state revenue. We counties and other jurisdictions do get a lot of state funding. So, we'll see how that impacts the counties, cities, villages, et cetera, townships. But there will be impacts to us from the state shortfall that'll impact us. That's all of the topics I have. And again, thank you all. Jennifer, we do have executive session.
For an executive session. Resolution number 20-402, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration for security arrangements and emergency response protocols.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-402. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. All right, we are in executive session. Okay, Jennifer?
Resolution number 20-403, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So move.
Second.
Discussion, vote?
Vote on motion 20-403. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
All right, we are out of executive session, back in regular session, and we do have one item of other business.
Do. Resolution number 20-404, in the matter of canceling the Commissioners' session scheduled for Monday, May 11th, 2020.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Again, I think what we'll do is since there's not much for Monday's agenda, we'll cancel that meeting, and then next Thursday, we'll consider whether we want to cancel the following Monday's meeting, the 18th. But at this point, we're just canceling Monday, the 11th. So, all right, vote?
Vote on motion 20-404. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. Okay, with that, nothing else, we are adjourned.